Welcome back, students. This afternoon, I'm going to share with you, ready? Mary had a little, I see some lambs, but this says lab. Lab, that's short for laboratory, right? A laboratory is a place where you can do scientific work, scientific experimenting, medical experimenting. And I see, this must be Mary, with goggles and like a beaker. That's a glass container that they use in a lab. And she's got her pens and pencils and she's got gloves on. On the back, I see some other children, and there's a sheep or a lamb sitting next to her at a table. And it says, friendship comes in all shapes and sizes. You get it? I think that's a play on the joke when you say friendship comes in all shapes and sizes, right? This is in all shapes and sizes. Okay, here we go. Mary had a little lab. Oh, so this looks like, maybe this is like a little building in her yard. And on the front there's a little sign that says danger, and there's all kinds of interesting things poking out. Maybe that's her laboratory where she does her experiments. How many of you like doing experiments? Yeah, very cool. Here we go. Oh, there she is in the lab, and out the window I can see some kids playing outside. Mary had a little lab she tested and created. While other kids were at the park, she built and calculated. So she doesn't quite want to go out and play. She's doing her experiments. Inventing can be lonely, though. She rarely stopped for fun. One day she thought she'd call a friend, but couldn't think of one. Maybe I just need a pet, one fluffy, soft, and sweet, to snuggle, cuddle, hold, and love, and make my life complete. Oh, it looks like she's got an idea. So here, she's peeking out at the kids playing and realizing she doesn't have a friend. And here she has the idea. Do you see how there's a little light bulb above her head in the illustration, right? A light bulb is like a symbol for having an idea. And she's like, oh, I'll make my friend. I wonder what she's going to do. She traveled to a local farm with scissors and a sack. She snipped a tiny tuft of wool, then quickly headed back. Heading out to the country, and there, snipping a tuft. A tuft is like a little piece of wool. She's putting it in a test tube and heading back. She made an apparatus. An apparatus is like a contraption, a machine. She made an apparatus with pulleys, knobs, and gears, then set the switches, pipes, and springs, and covered both her ears. The new machine is finished, my best invention ever. Then Mary turned the power on and gently pulled the lever. Okay, so there, she's been building her machine. Oh, and I see a little picture here in the back that shows what's supposed to come out of the machine, maybe. I'm kind of making a connection to the book about Starbelly Sneetches and the machine that took the stars on and off the Sneetches. Okay, and there she is trying to get that lever up to make the machine go. She pushed the wool into the chute and poured the mixture in, then pumped the pedals with her feet to give it all a spin. Oh, and on the side, I didn't see that before. On the side, the machine says it's a sheepinator. A sheepinator. Putting in the wool and the other stuff. And there, she's cycling to make power for the machine. And there you can say it says sheepinator. Ooh, and the kids are peeking in the window, wondering what's up. The sheep assisted, oops, I think I missed a page, sorry. sputter, crackle, crinkle, bang! I have a pet to keep. The brilliant budding scientist had made a woolly sheep. Oh, so look at these pop-out words, right? Pop-out words, they're big, they're bold, and they've got some other, the illustrator put some other action symbols like fire and it's exploding. Let's see, sputter, crackle, crinkle, bang. I have a pet to keep. The brilliant budding scientist had made a woolly sheep. Here we go. The sheep assisted, that means helped, assisted in the lab and often helped with chores. He carried all the groceries and buffed the kitchen floors. Okay, so he's helping her in the lab, helping to carry groceries, and there to buff, to clean the floors. He's just laying on his back with his arms up like this, relaxing, and she's pulling him along by his little legs to clean the floors. He looks like he's relaxing, having fun. He followed her to school one day. The teacher was impressed. He said the sheep could stay in class as Mary's special guest. The kids all rushed to see the sheep and asked if they could play. Oh, Mary, could we have one too? I'll make you some today. Oh, wow. So the children in the class all want their own sheep. She led them to her little lab. Behold, the sheepinator. I simply press this button here, the woolly duplicator. Duplicate means to copy something, right? So the sheepinator rhymes with duplicator. So she's making them their own sheep. But soon the duplicator jammed, but the sheep dropped out in twos. They filled the lab, the yard, the street. They made the evening news. Oh, no. Well, you know, I got to stop and think for a minute. We should have known that there was going to be a problem, right? Because a story can't just be everything going along, no problem, because that doesn't make much of a story, right? She had a problem at the beginning, right? She was lonely, but she solved that problem, but here we have another interesting problem. But soon the duplicator jammed. The sheep dropped out in twos. They filled the lab, the yard, the street. They made the evening news. The town was overrun with sheep. She'd made 10 times a flock. The wool went on for miles and miles round every city block. Sheep everywhere. How is she gonna fix that? Mary said, "Let's fix this jam." They pulled until it popped, then flipped the whole thing upside down until at last it stopped. Phew. So with help from the other kids, she got the machine to stop. They used the lab to herd the sheep by adding wheels below. Now everywhere that Mary went, her lab was sure to go. She made the lab, put it on wheels so she could pull it along on her bike. They led the sheep to pastures. Each farmer chose a few. But Mary had a new idea she wanted to pursue. Pursue, dun dun dun. Oh, something else has still got to happen. The town was back to normal. The people were at peace. Now Mary had a pet and friends and heaps of snowy fleece. Oh, Look what they've made. They're putting the fleece into the, it's not a sheepinator, it says a knitomatic. So they put the fleece in here, and the machine automatically knits knitted items, a scarf, a hat. It's called Whitest Fleece Company. So they're doing something with all the fleece. It's kind of cute on the knitomatic. If you notice, it's a machine, but the illustrator made it look like it has a little bit of a smiley face there as it's knitting things, as the machine is knitting. The end. Snip, snap, snap. This tale's told out. Colorín colorado, este cuento se ha acabado. Well, wasn't that a fun version of Mary Had a Little Lamb? But instead she had a laboratory. And since I got to do something at the end of a book, I'm going back to this page where, oh my goodness, the countryside covered in sheep. I'm making a connection to the magic pasta pot that Big Anthony got in trouble with in Stregonona, right? And it's interesting because I think there are some other folk tales like that where someone thinks they're getting what they want, but something goes wrong and they end up with a big problem. Have you ever heard of stories that happen like that? Anyway, but she was able to solve the problem, and she ended up with some friends too. So I hope you have a nice afternoon. Be sure to wash your hands, cover your coughs and sneezes, do some reading and some writing, help your family around the house. I love you guys. I miss you. Elbow bump.